evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Catalina Gillies. To commemorate the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, members of the Anishinaabe Aski Nation held an event at Pope John Paul II School today. Residential school survivors got a chance to share their stories, and people gathered to honor the children who never got a chance to make it home. Danielle Bain reports.
NAN Deputy Grand Chief Anna Betty Ashney-Paniscum joined members of the city along with residential school survivors and their families to create a safe space for people to share their stories and learn about the history of residential schools. Ashney-Paniscum was happy to see the high attendance and support from the community.
Many of our survivors used to gather and they had very little support. And so it's encouraging that more people are coming out and wanting to learn. So that is also one of the benefits of having this day as a holiday, because people will ask those questions and they'll have those discussions.
NAN member Terry Fiddler recalled what life was like for her late husband, Alvin Fiddler, who attended a residential school.
He didn't know how to celebrate because in residential schools, you don't celebrate. Your birthdays go unnoticed. Christmases are spent in a residential school.
Sam Ashney-Paniscum attended 3 different residential schools and still remembers his time there vividly.
To go in that environment where, it's really different, it's really hard and a shock for me. And not knowing the language, what they were trying to tell me to do. So I got into a lot of trouble because of that, because I didn't understand the instructions that they were trying to tell me. So I got punished a lot because of that.
Ashney-Paniscum also touched on the feelings he and his peers had after the mass numbers of unmarked graves were discovered.
For a lot of us, it really brought back a lot of memories, and we talked about our experience in residential schools. So when the stories broke about the discovery of the grave sites, it's kind of like starting all over again, and reliving a lot of the experiences that a lot of people have.
He also added that he hopes that education on this topic continues because it's not just Indigenous history, it's Canada's history as well. Danielle Bain, TBT News.
Earlier in the day, the city gathered at Vickers Park to commemorate Orange Shirt Day. A ceremonial tree planting was also held to honor the children, families, and communities affected by residential schools. Mayor Bill Morrow was joined by Councillor Kristen Oliver, Elder Carrie McLaughlin, and Fort William First Nation Chief Peter Collins as they planted a cedar tree, which will be the beginning of a memorial grove in the park. There was a huge number of people all around the city sporting their orange shirts for the occasion. Morrow was happy to see so many community members come together for the cause.
The turnout is spectacular. I think it speaks to the feelings in the city about what we can do as a community in terms of honoring the day and doing what we can to ensure that it doesn't happen again. It's tremendous to see such a large crowd.
It's all of us that's going to heal together, and the educational portion of that is really important. That's something that we talk about on a constant basis. What will help make that change? Educating each other, supporting each other, respecting each other, and working with each other. And we'll get through this process. There's still a lot of work to be done.
Chief Collins also added that having this day as a holiday across the country is an important message to Canadians, allowing people to recognize the struggles Indigenous people still go through today. The new town of Ignace unveiled a new feather crosswalk this week to commemorate the new national holiday at the urging of a local church official. The new crosswalk at the corner of Pine Street and Balsam Avenue was finished on Monday. Reverend Canon Jean Bryan of the Emmanuel Anglican United Church first brought the idea to the municipality a couple weeks ago after seeing a Facebook post about a similar project in Orangeville, Ontario.
I was like, yes, we need that. And so I called the township and said, this is what I'd really like, and what do you think? And they certainly created miracles, and in a very short time, we were able to have the crosswalk created.
We actually had the contractor in town, which is pretty unusual because we usually have to bring contractors in from long distances away. And they were in town and they were able to get the paint in the quantities and the colors we required. And they were willing to go ahead and do this too. I think they were actually excited about it as well.
The crosswalk is located near a pair of churches, including Emmanuel Anglican United. Brian says it's more important than ever for religious institutions to offer support for Indigenous people who are reeling from the discovery of mass grave sites at former residential schools across the country. A smudging ceremony was also held at the crosswalk today, and a similar crosswalk was also painted here in Thunder Bay at the Mount McKay Scenic Lookout yesterday afternoon. Thunder Bay police are investigating a serious assault on the city's north side that has sent one man to hospital. Officers were dispatched to the area of St. Paul and Van Norman Streets early this morning and found a seriously injured male. Paramedics with Superior North EMS transported the adult male to the Thunder Bay Regional Hospital for further treatment of his injuries. Members of the Major Crimes Unit are now involved in the investigation. A large police presence remains at the scene, and the public is asked to avoid the area at this time. Anyone with information is encouraged to call the police or Crime Stoppers. Lakehead University's NIJI Indigenous Mentorship Program brought its first ever Water Walker Day to Westmount Public School as part of the Science Literacy Week in Canada. Corey Nordstrom has the details.
The first Water Walker Day at Westmount School highlighted important messages contained in the book The Water Walker by Joanne Robertson. The book was read to the multiple classes throughout the day on Thursday. The kids also learned about some Indigenous practices, phrases, and even joined along in a sacred prayer. At the end of the event, the kids were all given a copy of the book, along with a reusable water bottle to help stop waste. NIJI Indigenous Mentorship Coordinator Lisa Harris says it's critical that the kids get this experience.
It's important that we are here talking about water, but it's also, I think, an added benefit that we get to highlight the work of the Mother Earth Water Walkers as well, because they really do incredible work that not many of us would pick up and do 7 years of walking, right? So pretty incredible.
Elder Sheila DeCourt joined Nokomis Mandamin on her final water walk in 2017, which she says inspired her to start her own water walk in Thunder Bay as she felt the rivers were hurting and needed help. DeCourt says anyone can be a water walker, including the youth, as they have junior water walkers, and why she was excited to teach the kids at Westmount about what she has learned.
If we want water for future generations to come, it's very important to start teaching them young how to respect the water and care for the water. And even though I'm an adult and I'm an elder who's doing this work, it doesn't mean that young children can't begin some form of work to protect the water.
The first Water Walker Day won't be the last, as it will now be an annual event teaching children how to protect the water in their neighborhoods and beyond. Corey Nordstrom, TBT News.
As fall arrives, a number of residential roads are still in the midst of repairs and repaving, but city officials say things are on schedule to be wrapped up by the end of October. The city committed $32 million to this year's projects, which include road and sidewalk repair and storm sewer work. Both South Hill Street and South Leland Street are currently torn up as contractors complete water main work. Kayla Dixon, the city's engineering and operation director, says they were fortunate to have good weather over the past month, resulting in a smooth construction season.
Things are looking to wrap up, October still for most of our paving, and some of our water main work is still continuing right now. So we've got some large projects open, but still looking to have completion for the end of October.
The big job at River Street between Algoma and Cumberland Streets is weeks away from completion as well. Crews are working on curb renewal, and base and top coats are still needed on the road itself before it can open. A book commemorating the history and people of Gillies Township is now available to celebrate the township's 100th anniversary. The book, called Gillies Township: Stories and Memories of Our Past, covers a wide range of topics and family stories from the inception of the township to the present day. Gillies Reeve Wendy Wright says it's a combination of years of hard work by a team of dedicated volunteers and youth interns that began in 2008. The authors managed to compile 84 family tales with the assistance of the community. One of those families is of that chief editor, Pat Forrest, who says the stories included will highlight many connections.
All through the book, there's just bits and pieces of my past that I'm reminded of. And I believe it's the same for many people reading the book. They read their own story that's near and dear to their heart, but then they see all the other connections that they have throughout the history of the township.
Sort of widespread for everybody that aren't specific to families, but are like the electricity getting put in, the telephone getting put in, how, say, the little village of Heimers used to be like, it was like a thriving metropolis of Heimers. It had a saloon and a hotel and opposed to all kinds of things. That to me is really, really interesting.
The book is available for purchase in the Gillies Township office located at the Whitefish Valley Public School in Heimers. Joined now with Kurt Black. Kurt, I need to get my hands on a copy of that Gillies book because my last name is Gillies and it's spelled the same way.
Well, who knows? I know you from out west, but in those 500 pages, we might find a connection there for you as well.